Golf, a game of tradition, precision, and gentlemanly conduct. For over a century, professional golf has been synonymous with one name, the PGA Tour. But in 2022, a new challenger emerged from the sand traps of controversy. LIV Golf burst onto the scene, bankrolled by Saudi billions and promising to revolutionize the sport. This is the story of a clash that has shaken the golfing world to its core. It's a tale of loyalty versus opportunity, tradition versus innovation, and the undeniable power of money to disrupt even the most established institutions. The PGA Tour, with its rich history dating back to 1929, has long been the pinnacle of professional golf. It's where legends like Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, and Tiger Woods etched their names into sporting folklore. But as we entered the 2020s, whispers of discontent began to echo across the perfectly manicured fairways. Enter LIV Golf, backed by the seemingly limitless resources of Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund. With Greg Norman as the charismatic Australian known as the Shark at the helm, LIV promised golfers something the PGA Tour never could: guaranteed money, and lots of it. As the first LIV Golf event teed off in London in June 2022, the golfing world held its breath. Was this the beginning of a new era, or a flash in the pan that would fizzle out as quickly as it began? In the months that followed, battle lines were drawn, players faced career-defining decisions. The PGA Tour found itself on the defensive for the first time in decades, and golf fans around the world grappled with a simple yet profound question. In this clash between legacy and innovation, who deserves their loyalty? This is the story of LIV Golf and the PGA Tour, their differences, their bitter rivalry, and their surprising similarities. It's a narrative that transcends sport, touching on themes of global politics, personal ethics, and the ever-evolving nature of professional athletics in the 21st century. To understand the seismic shift caused by LIV Golf, we must first appreciate the towering presence of the PGA Tour in the world of professional golf. The roots of the PGA Tour stretch back to 1929, when a group of professional golfers broke away from the Professional Golfers Association of America to form the Tournament Players Division. This marked the birth of what would eventually become the PGA Tour. For decades, the Tour has been the gold standard of professional golf. Its calendar year is a grueling test of skill and endurance, featuring approximately 50 tournaments spread across the United States and beyond. From the Florida Swing in early spring to the FedEx Cup playoffs in late summer, players crisscross the country chasing glory and those precious FedEx Cup points. The tour structure is both simple and brutally meritocratic. Players earn their place through a combination of tournament wins, consistent high finishes, and their position on the money list. There are no guarantees in the PGA Tour. Every week, players must perform to maintain their status and earn their paycheck. This system has produced some of the greatest narratives in sports history. Who can forget Tiger Woods' incredible run in the early 2000s, or Jordan Spieth's near Grand Slam in 2015? The Tour has been the stage for countless dramatic final round duels, career-defining victories, and heartbreaking near misses. But the PGA Tour is more than just a series of tournaments. It's a brand, a legacy, and for many, the very embodiment of professional golf. The Tour's commitment to tradition is evident in everything from its dress code to its reverence for courses like Augusta National and Pebble Beach. Moreover, the PGA Tour has positioned itself as a force for good. Through its charitable initiatives, the Tour and its tournaments have raised billions of dollars for various causes. This philanthropic aspect has become a core part of the Tour's identity, allowing it to claim a higher purpose beyond mere sport. Yet, as we entered the 2020s, cracks began to appear in this polished facade. Some players, particularly those ranked outside the top 50, began to grumble about the tour structure. They pointed out the financial insecurity of their position, miss a few cuts, and suddenly paying for travel, accommodation, and caddy fees becomes a significant burden. Others questioned the tour's revenue-sharing model. Despite generating billions in revenue, only a small percentage of that money makes its way to the players in the form of prize purses. The rest, they argued, was being swallowed up by the tour's bureaucracy. These whispers of discontent were about to grow into a roar. As the PGA Tour basked in its position at the top of the golfing world, a new challenger was emerging on the horizon. one that would force the tour to confront these issues head-on and fight for its very existence. But before we dive into the LIV Golf revolution, let's take a closer look at the man who would become the face of this golfing insurrection, Greg Norman. The shark was about to bare his teeth, and the golfing world would never be the same. Norman's history with the PGA Tour was complicated, to say the least. As a player, he had been a dominant force in the 1980s and 1990s, spending 331 weeks as world number one. His aggressive style and dashing looks made him a fan favorite and a marketer's dream. But beneath the surface, tensions simmered. Throughout his career, Norman had been an outspoken critic of the PGA Tour structure. He argued for a world golf tour that would bring together the best players more often in a series of big money events. This vision, first proposed in 1994, was swiftly shut down by then PGA Tour Commissioner Tim Finchem. The message was clear: the tour would brook no challengers to its supremacy. Fast forward to 2022, and Norman found himself with a chance to turn his old vision into reality. Backed by the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund, he became the CEO of LIV Golf Investments, tasked with creating a new professional golf tour that would challenge the PGA Tour's monopoly. The timing was perfect. The world was emerging from the COVID-19 pandemic, which had disrupted sports calendars and financial models across the globe. Golfers, like many athletes, were reassessing their priorities and looking for new opportunities. And hovering in the background was the specter of Saudi Arabia, a nation eager to use sports to rehabilitate its international image. LIV Golf's proposition was simple yet revolutionary. Instead of the PGA Tour's cutthroat weekly grind, LIV would offer a streamlined schedule of events with massive purses and no cuts. Players would be guaranteed money just for showing up, addressing one of the main grievances against the PGA Tour's model. But LIV Golf wasn't just about the money. Norman and his team pitched it as a reimagining of golf for the 21st century. They promised shorter tournaments, shotgun starts to condense playing time, and a team element to add excitement. It was golf, but not as we knew it. As news of the new tour began to circulate, reactions were mixed. Some players were intrigued by the financial security and innovative format. Others were wary of aligning themselves with Saudi Arabia given the country's controversial human rights record. The PGA Tour, for its part, made its stance clear: any player joining LIV Golf would face suspension. Despite the threats and controversy, LIV Golf pressed ahead. They began to court top players, dangling eye-watering sums of money as bait. Rumors swirled about who might jump ship. The golfing world held its breath, waiting to see who would make the first move. In early 2022, the pieces began to fall into place. Phil Mickelson, one of the most popular players in PGA Tour history, made comments suggesting he was considering a move to LIV. Though he would later backtrack and apologize for his words, the cat was out of the bag. LIV Golf was real, and it was coming for the PGA Tour's crown. As the inaugural LIV Golf event in London approached, the tension in the golfing world was palpable. Who would play? How would the PGA Tour respond? And perhaps most importantly, how would this new tour change the landscape of professional golf? The stage was set for a showdown that would pit tradition against innovation, loyalty against opportunity, and player against player. The first shots in golf's civil war were about to be fired, and the sport would never be the same again. June 9, 2022, the Centurion Club, just north of London. As the morning mist cleared, revealing the meticulously manicured fairways, the golfing world braced itself for a seismic shift. This was the day LIV Golf would officially tee off, firing the first shot in what would become known as golf's Civil War. The field for this inaugural event was a mix of established stars, up-and-comers, and players past their prime. But all eyes were on one man, Dustin Johnson. The former world number one and two-time major champion had shocked the golfing world by announcing his participation in LIV Golf just days earlier. His decision to turn his back on the PGA Tour, where he had earned over $74 million in prize money, was a clear signal that LIV Golf was a serious threat. As players arrived at the course, the differences between LIV Golf and a typical PGA Tour event were immediately apparent. Luxurious courtesy cars ferried players from their five-star hotels. The practice range was stocked with pristine Pro V1 balls arranged in perfect pyramids. Everything screamed excess and opulence. The format, too, was a departure from the norm. Instead of the traditional 72-hole stroke play over 4 days, LIV Golf events would be 54 holes over 3 days with no cut. A shotgun start meant all players began their rounds simultaneously on different holes, compressing the action into a TV-friendly time frame. But it wasn't just golf that was different. As players and media arrived, they couldn't help but notice the heavy security presence. Protesters had gathered outside the club, voicing their opposition to Saudi Arabia's involvement in the sport. The shadow of sport washing, using sports to improve a nation's reputation, loomed large over the proceedings. Inside the ropes, however, the focus was on golf. As the first shots were struck, it became clear that this was no ordinary tournament. The atmosphere was electric, a mix of excitement and fear. Players who had been PGA Tour stars for years were now rebels, venturing into uncharted territory. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, the PGA Tour was not sitting idle. As the first LIV Golf balls were in the air, PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan released a statement. Any PGA Tour members participating in LIV Golf events were suspended from the tour, effective immediately. The battle lines were drawn. The fallout was immediate and far-reaching. Golf's traditional genteel image was shattered as players, officials, and fans took sides. Social media exploded with debates about loyalty, greed, and the future of the sport. Even casual golf fans were drawn into the controversy. As the tournament progressed, the on-course action almost became secondary to the off-course drama. Every press conference became a battleground, with players defending their decisions to join LIV Golf or reaffirming their loyalty to the PGA Tour. When the dust settled on that first event, it was Charles Schwartzel who emerged victorious, pocketing a whopping $4 million for 3 days' work, more than he'd earned in his previous 4 years on the PGA Tour combined. But the real winner, it seemed, was LIV Golf itself. They had successfully launched their product, attracted significant media attention, and proven that they could lure top talent away from the PGA Tour. The inaugural LIV Golf event may have concluded, but it was clear that this was just the beginning. As players jetted off to the next tournament, the golfing world was left to ponder some difficult questions. Was this the start of a new era in professional golf? Could the PGA Tour and LIV Golf coexist? And perhaps most pressingly, how would this schism affect the majors and golf's most hallowed traditions? As we stand here in 2024, the golfing world looks drastically different from just a few years ago. The seismic shift caused by LIV Golf's emergence has settled into a new reality, one that few could have predicted when the Saudi-backed tour first teed off. The most significant development came in June 2023 when the PGA Tour, DP World Tour, and LIV Golf announced a framework agreement to unite commercial operations under a new yet-to-be-named for-profit entity. This shocking turn of events, which caught even the players off guard, effectively ended golf's civil war and paved the way for a new era in the sport. The immediate aftermath of this announcement was a period of uncertainty and speculation. Players who had remained loyal to the PGA Tour felt blindsided, while those who had jumped to LIV Golf were left wondering about the future. The golfing world held its breath, waiting to see how this unexpected alliance would reshape the professional game. As the dust settled, several key changes emerged. Number 1, a unified calendar. Efforts began to create a cohesive global schedule, incorporating events from all tours. This aimed to ensure that the world's best players would compete against each other more frequently. Number 2, player pathways. New structures were put in place to provide clear routes for up-and-coming golfers to reach the highest levels of the sport, addressing one of LIV Golf's criticisms of the old system. Number 3, team golf. The team element introduced by LIV Golf was retained and expanded, adding a new dimension to the traditionally individual sport. Number 4, the financial model. A hybrid approach was adopted, balancing performance-based earnings with guaranteed money for top players, aiming to provide both meritocracy and financial security. And finally, number 5, global expansion. The new entity placed a greater emphasis on growing the game globally with more international events and development programs. Looking to the future, several questions remain. How will this new structure impact the majors, which are run by independent organizations? Will the team format gain traction with fans and become a significant part of professional golf? And perhaps most importantly, how will this consolidated entity balance the traditions of the sport with the need for innovation and growth? The next few years will be crucial in determining the long-term impact of this merger. Will it lead to a stronger, more globally appealing product? Or will internal tensions and competing visions create new challenges? As we watch the first tee shots of this new era arc across the sky, we're reminded of the words of the great Bobby Jones. You get bad breaks from good shots, you get good breaks from bad shots, but you have to play the ball where it lies.